So we'll start with Elian. Is Downtown Alternative, was it the first school you came to?
Yeah, the first real school I actually came to.
And that was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Do you remember much about that?
Well, I was a little scared on the first day, but I think after a while I just said, Mama, go, I'm fine. Because I had a nice teacher and I got used to it. So I was fine.
Actually, the first day was, I think, much harder on me because I had taken Elli on to work with me because I'm an artist that works in schools. So she was with me up until the time she came to DAS. And so that first day, Elian and I always had an agreement that she would just tell me when she felt comfortable, and then I would leave her at any place I was leaving her. So we walked in that first day, and she looked around the room, and then turned to me about a minute later and said, "I'm fine, and you can go now." And I had expected to stay with her, so I kind of felt lost because I felt, this was our agreement, so I had to leave the room, but I wanted to see what the first day was like, so I don't know if you knew this, or we talked about it later, but you didn't know it at the time, but I just stayed out in the hall, and I was sort of peering in the doors, so it was hard.
How did you come to choose DAS for Elian?
Well, I was working at Horizon, which is another alternative school. It's a 7th and 8th grade school. What? You can say. What?
And
Are you thinking about the teacher? Brian is his name. Is that what you're thinking about? You can just talk. You don't have to whisper. Nancy.
Yeah.
Did you want to say
she
something
had
about
a
Nancy?
friend named Nancy there, and I think Nancy told her about this school or something, or another teacher named Brian at that school, and he or she told about the school, and they said it was great, so that's how we came to DAS.
Yeah, they told me that I better get on the waiting list right away, and it was a teacher that I really respected. And so I phoned up, and it was quite early. They sort of said I was one of the first people to phone. So that's how I first heard about it. Actually, heard about Ann Lacey, and they said there wasn't a better kindergarten teacher in the city. So that's how I heard about the school. And then, do you want me to go on? To say, and then, after I heard about the school, and we were on the waiting list for, I don't remember how long, quite a long time, we came to see the school, and Elian and I spent a day at the school, and I fell in love with it. I knew we felt right at home here. It was how the kids were being cared for, and the things. I don't want to go into the I don't know what this,
Say whatever.
Okay, so I was I guess since Elian was a baby, I think I was doing something that was related to peacemaking, because I had always tried to understand what it was she was needing. So when she was a baby and she cried, I always respected that, and I felt that she was telling me something, and I tried to find out that need rather than say, I have a cranky baby, and I guess it really started to think about communicating with my child. And so Elian and I have all, I think, tried to always talk to each other and work things out.
Yeah.
And so I was specifically looking for a school that tried to do that. And also I had done that in my work with kids, because I work in theater, and I felt that the only way to actually get kids to work together on a show was to spend a lot of time with them, letting them practice supporting each other and trusting each other. So if I worked in a school for 3 months, I'd spend about a month or a month and a half getting the kids to be able to talk out their problems and things. But I didn't know anything about peacemaking, so how it's done here, but I was looking for that kind of approach. So when I saw what was doing here, I realized that there were a lot of connections to what I was trying to do on my own, and knew that it was a place that Elian and I would both learn a lot. So that was I guess the main reason that we initially got interested. And then and also a lot of the programming, the kinds of things, just the respecting of the children and the working from what the child knows and is excited about, and those kinds of things. So that's what we saw when we were there that day, and Elian liked it too. And I guess that's how we got started.
When did you first hear about peacemaking? Do you remember?
When I first came to the school.
And how was it described to you? How did it present itself?
They described it as helping you solve your problems and helping get along a little more with your problems, I guess.
And how was it done in the school? How was it used?
Well, if there was a problem, any kind of problem, like, but if it was a really small problem and the kids could just say it to each other and figure it out, they didn't need a big peacemaking. But if it was a problem that sort of was revolving into the class, you would try to solve it, and if that didn't work, then you would solve it with the teacher.
Were there a lot of problems that were solved?
Not too many when I first came. Because the kids weren't much together, on the first day of school. Not too many kids are like in 20 clumps. But
Was your first experience, did you have a problem that got solved, or did you work as a...
my first experience was being a peacemaker.
And how did that go?
Fine.
What was involved with that?
I don't remember. It was a pretty long time ago.
And how have you learned? You've learned more and more about peacemaking, I guess, as you've gone through.
Yeah.
Well, what
Because as you get older, they let you do more and more problems. Like when you're in kindergarten, they don't have you blast out a lot of problems and be a peacemaker for a lot of problems. Usually have the older kids do that.
Especially when you came the first year, because it was the year that Anne was off and she was consulting. So that the teacher, when we visited the school, we saw Anne and we met her, but she wasn't Elian's first year teacher. So in the kindergarten, they weren't doing as much around peacemaking just that year.
So what sort of things did you learn as you got more familiar with it and you started to do it more? What kinds of things have you learned?
Well, there was something that excited me. One day, when some of the classes were, my class and Winnie's class were going to watch a movie, I was called by Anne, and she said, there's a problem with, older kids, really older kids, from Winnie's room. And she said, could you come into Winnie's room and solve it? And I was one of the first kids to actually go into an older class and figure out that problem, so I felt good.
Do you remember what the problem was?
No.
Or how it worked out?
Well, you say the rules, and then you, first you ask, do you want to solve the problem, and then do you want to solve it with us or the teacher? Because sometimes kids say, well, I need the teacher because this is a problem I can't do with kids. Sometimes they say this is okay to do with kids. And then they go on to the rules. There's 4 rules, and
You don't have to remember the rules.
and then they say their sides. You ask one kid their side, and the other kid says their side. And then you ask, are you ready for a solution? If one kid says yes and the other kid says no, I still need to talk about my feelings, then you keep doing feelings until it's okay with everybody to do solutions. And then you do solutions, and then if somebody says, yes, that solution's okay with me, you ask, is the problem solved? If they both say yes, you cross hands and you shake them, and the problem's finished. Well, it happened outside. There's a lot of problems that happen outside. And we came in, and this isn't something usual, but sometimes your teacher sits you down in a big circle around on the carpet. And then the people who are in the problem and the peacemakers sit in the middle, and the teacher and all the kids around listen to the problem. And then everybody in the whole circle can think of solutions. And then you can ask kids in the circle, too. But if one person in the problem says no, that would be a little too, scary for me, or it would shock me a little, then you go out, then you go somewhere else, and you don't do it with so many kids.
But you did that. You had one of your problems solved in a circle like that? And how did that work for you?
Fine.
Did you get good ideas, did you think?
Yeah.
Obviously, as you've been involved with the school, your family's been involved, you've become more involved in the programs, obviously. Do you use it? Have you come to use it more? Do
Yeah,
you
we
become
use
more?
it at home.
Yeah. Tell me, Sharon. Tell me how you got more. You've come to the point where you said you saw there were a lot of connected points with you, and you got involved with the school. But obviously, that's grown, and you've become quite connected. Do you want to just talk about that a bit?
Okay, well, we asked, do you want to say something?
Well, my mom got a little connected because she's an artist, and she comes in a lot and does art with my class and the other classes.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and sometimes she has to peacemake when she's doing the art. And at home, and I help her, and sometimes at home I help them, and they've got to learn peacemaking, and I talk about it at home too. So they just it blends in. Well, a lot of peacemakings are in my class around now because the boys have been playing a lot of, outside they play games that have a lot of active stuff in it, and they get into problems. And one of the kids in my class named Nick, this is sort of a peacemaking. Well, he was gonna throw the ball at somebody. They were playing soccer, and he jumped to throw the ball, and his feet slipped out from under him, and he fell right back on his head.
Is he okay?
Yeah, he's fine. He wasn't even crying. It just was it wasn't bleeding. It was just a little tiny bump.
That's amazing.
And he wasn't even crying.
So you see that the kids are able to still use it now, even though you're in a new place?
Yeah, if somebody by mistake had bumped him, and he said, I feel hurt by that person, then they would have had a peacemaking. And since those kids would have been friends, they would sort of eased it out a little.
Because it was harder, that it wasn't a conflict, that he just had to get over it on his own. You see that the kids are able to still use it now, even though you're in a new place?
Yeah, if somebody by mistake had bumped him, and he said, I feel hurt by that person, then they would have had a peacemaking. And since those kids would have been friends, they would sort of eased it out a little.
I think everything that she brought home, we tried in our home. And we started to do, we had family meetings, and we ran them along the peacemaking lines at the beginning, because you go through so many transitions with young children, and lots of problems come, and we realized that as the three of us weren't talking out all our problems, because Harry and I both come from homes that never did that. So we sort of we're sort of making it up And so Das gave us a way to talk to each other. And so we spent a lot of time with the formal process, actually, when Elian was first started at Das. And now we don't need that anymore, because it helped us establish that we all expect to solve our problems, whether it's brushing teeth. We use it to solve every day-to-day problems. And one that comes to mind when Elian was a bit younger was that she sometimes woke up in the middle of the night and needed to come in to us. And she wanted us to leave the light on in our room. But for Harry, that was a real problem, because it made it hard for him to sleep. And of course, there's all kinds of options as parents. But what we did was we talked about it, and we solved the problem by discussing what everybody needed. And Harry needed a light that wasn't so bright. And he was actually worried that Elian was going to make a demand on him that he wasn't going to be able to live with. And Elian said, well, she couldn't possibly make it from her room down the hall into our room. It's a pretty short hall, but it was, for a little kid, just too far to go. And so that's the kind of problem that we solved, and we worked out a compromise of the size of light, and and the placement of the light, and all those things. And so I guess I probably have an endless list of those things. But so what it's done for me with my family is made it really comfortable solving the endless amount of problems that come up day to day. It gives you a way to do it, rather than to be angry or walk away or try to be as the parent, just make the decision by yourself. It helps us all enter into that, which is quite wonderful for us. Yeah. I learned by watching Lori in the classroom and how she deals with kids in the classroom. And before that, Anne was Elian's teacher the year before, and so I guess that's they just model how to listen and how to solve problems. And one of the things that I found difficult, and my husband also, setting limits on our child. Because as children, we had so many limits set on us that we didn't want to stifle our child like that. And so to find the proper balance, to make limitations clear, but not to suppress the things that your child wants to do. And when I watch Lori, I learn so much, because she does it very clearly and very firmly, but with so much love and a lot of humor. And so I watch her, and I go home and I give it a try. And it gives me, it supports me in my attempts to deal with Elian, in a respectful way, and not to fall back on things that were done to me as a child. So I have to keep looking and learning that,
Was there ever any parent training done through the school, or parent discuss?
Yeah, and we have. Anne has done. Anne has given us some workshops, and I've come to those, and those have been really helpful too. Anne and Lori talk to the parents from time to time. And at the beginning, actually, I used to write notes about, when they were talking, and just go home and try again, and try to listen better, and be able to, just say my own needs better. Because I think all the pieces of peacemaking didn't come naturally to me, sort of a fight against my background.
Do you see the peacemaking as as the key focus at DAS, or how would you put it into that?
Well, I think I see. I always feel a little uncomfortable using the word peacemaking, because it means so many different things, and it's so many different skills. But I think it is a main focus, because it's a life skill. It's a life view, and if I ever became fanatical about anything, I guess this is something, that I could be, because it helps in every aspect of living, and because you learn, it gives you a way to see things in a positive light, and to deal with things at work or at home, and it's supportive of living a good life. It helps you be a kind and respectful and assertive and strong person. So it has to. It's a focus, because I think it enters into everything else that's taught here, because it enables you to be a risk taker, and it enables you to enjoy your life, and to sort of get over your fears. And I guess and that relates to everything, to math or science or English or anything. And I guess just the last thing that I'd like to say is that I feel really lucky to know people like Lori and Anne, because that adds to my life.
What is your involvement with the school at this point? I know you're here a lot. Could you just say how much time you spend here, what you do, and even committee work or anything that you do for the school?
All right. Well, I guess I spend a lot. I guess I do spend a lot of time at school. Part of the, I think, because we've had several years of transition, moving from one building to the next, that there was a lot of committee work and group meetings in order to go through the political quagmire of the board in order to get the building. So. And I think that was another really big learning opportunity for me, how to deal with a very adversarial, to be put in an adversarial position with the board, and to still use those understanding ways of communication, and to go through that process with a group of people who really treated other people that way, and listened and explained things, and we got the building. So it was a very positive, supportive process for me, because it really helped me understand that if you talk about what you really feel and what you really care about, you can get what you want, even in this system with the board, which was really tricky. So it was supported not only by the teachers, but by the other parents that were working on that. And I also do, I guess I've been on the staffing committee this year, and I'm the parent rep in Lori's class. So I think Lori and I have worked closely together, and I don't know what to say. I try to do the things that will help support the teachers, so that they can do all the wonderful things that they do with the kids. So there's lots of things to do. At the beginning of the year, I helped get the snack program running, and I just try to hang around in that one capacity, just to see what needs to be done to help the school keep functioning. And then I love working with kids, because that's part of what I do professionally. So I was in here making kites with the kids and do puppets and things like that too.
Are there many other parents like yourself involved in the school?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of parents involved in the school, and everyone has a different amount of time or different interests. And I think that the school gives you a lot of opportunity to participate in your child's education in all different kinds of ways. Like, parents come in and help with swimming, or they help do the snack, or I guess there's just an endless amount of things.
So it is a pretty involved parent community.
I think so. I think certainly compared to other schools, I would say we have a highly involved parent community.